1,000 years ago, superstition and the sword ruled. It was a time of darkness. It was a world of fear. It was the age of gargoyles.
When I was a boy, I consumed a lot of Toon Disney. When I wasn't watching Jetix, there was no shortage of 90s reruns. Gargoyles always intrigued me, but I never got to finish it. Recently, I saw the whole thing on Disney Plus, and dude, it's very awesome. Gargoyles is 1994 Shakespearean fanfiction about nocturnal warriors who fight crime. After enduring a 1,000-year slumber, Goliath and his clan team up with Detective Elisa Mazza to defend New York City. They battle various foes and the occasional guest star from Star Trek.
Pay a man enough, and he'll walk barefoot into hell.
Yes, a similar event did take place.
This series has it all: complex storylines, nuanced characters, and great action. In a way, it's a precursor to story-heavy animation we see today. In the spirit of Halloween, let's uncover what made this overlooked gem so great. I'll be honest, writing this review was a little tough. It wasn't for a lack of material, there's just too many awesome things. How do you structure a 10-minute discussion on a 78 episode series? Instead of doing a plot summary, I'll pick out things that stuck out the most. Let's start with the first episode and how it leaves a great first impression. The Vikings storm the Scottish castle. Goliath, the gargoyle leader of his clan, wakes up in this awesome fashion. He catches the Viking sword. Holy shit. I can't recall any TVY7 show, much less a Disney show, being this daring. This moment communicates three things. 1. Gargoyles are vulnerable. 2. This world is dangerous. And 3. The dramatic tone for the whole series. This is how you do visual storytelling. It's also aided by the great visual design. If there is one word to describe this art style, it'd be timeless. It's basically thin outlines with detailed environments and atmospheric lighting. It makes great use of dark blue and warm orange hues. The show frequently transitions from night to day, so the colors really pop. Moreover, the animation is pretty great at times. It conveys a tangible sense of weight and momentum. The gargoyles are kinda like tanks, so it makes sense. I can tell the crew had a blast doing the shot compositions. The pilot alone has so many striking images. In terms of character design, they're A+ Halloween material. Each of the main gargoyles are distinct and you can tell which personality they have. They have these white glowy eyes whenever they're ticked off, and it looks sick. These come in handy in the fight scenes. How do you compose fights with supernatural creatures? Simple, you embrace the limitless possibilities in animation. It's aided by the variety of encounters. There are ranged assaults, fistfights, and aerial combat. One example that comes to mind is the pilot's Central Park chase. Goliath turns into stone at street level, and his friend Elisa must ward off his predators. It's actually more teeth-wrenching than a lot of action scenes I see today. If I have to nitpick, some of the action scenes tend to boil down to 3 outcomes: punching people, throwing people against walls, or blowing up the environment. Seriously, there's so much property damage. But the gargoyles are more than noble warriors. They possess their own fears and desires. The show's roster is impressively well developed. They actually grow throughout the series. Let's start with the gargoyles. Goliath is the humble leader type. Early in the show's run, he grapples with those who betrayed him, both in the literal past and the present. He believes his worst enemies are capable of redemption. For example, his soulmate Demona breaks up with him in episode 5. She mentions she despises humanity and won't stand for Goliath sympathizing with them. She reveals the crime she committed in the distant past, and Goliath is heartbroken.
I made a bargain with the captain. I was to get us all out of the castle so that the Vikings could sack it.
What?
And after the humans were gone, we would have had the castle all to ourselves. But you ruined it. You had to protect the humans. Together, you and I can create a new world for our kind.
There is good and evil in all of us, human and gargoyle alike. You should know that more than anyone.
If you are not my ally, then you are my enemy.
Throughout the series, he clings onto the hope that he can redeem her from her evil ways. Goliath is not alone on his journey. The other gargoyles include Hudson, a veteran soldier, Brooklyn, an impulsive redhead, Broadway, an oversized food magnate, Lexington, the computer whiz, and Bronx, the dog. The trio of Brooklyn, Broadway, and Lexington bring much needed comic relief to the predominantly serious tone. I can't go over every character, but know this. The character growth occurs organically and it's well executed, and it really pays off when you're marathoning this show. This also applies to the primary villains. Gargoyles has quite the rogues gallery. You know, rich men, gangsters, evil clones, and other supernatural phenomena. Most of them have entertaining moments, but they solely exist to be C-tier bad guys. But for the big players, the series went above and beyond. Arguably, the most iconic one is David Zanatos, a rich Machiavellian schemer who seeks to benefit only himself. He's charismatic and full of brains. In the pilot, he rescues the gargoyles from their sleeping spell and has them run evil errands. Zanatos isn't a generic villain motivated solely by profit or revenge. He uses psychology and manipulation to exploit his enemies. Even when caught off guard, he always gains some measure of victory. Later in the series, he falls in love and surprisingly becomes less selfish. Goliath rescues his family twice, and he warms up to helping the gargoyles. He's not the most sympathetic villain ever, but he's certainly fascinating. The same can be said of Demona. Demona is the definition of a tragic Shakespearean character. Once the soulmate to Goliath, she fell down the path of hatred and destruction. In numerous flashbacks, she was his second in command. Their job was to defend a Scottish castle. However, the humans she served looked down on her and gargoyle kind, and Demona wouldn't have it. Goliath insisted on helping the humans, but Demona believed gargoyles should rule over themselves. To put a very long story short, trust me, there's a lot of backstory I couldn't fit here. Her plan to help her clan backfired. Worse, she never got the 1,000-year slumber spell like Goliath and the gang. She couldn't bear the immense guilt, so she instead plunged into denial and taking it out on humanity. So she spent 1,000 years surviving on her own as the last of her clan. Or so she thought. Oh, and she's one of the few survivors of Scotland's gargoyle persecution. So yeah, when she does appear in 1994 Manhattan, it's understandable she wants to destroy all of mankind. This gets worse when she realizes her ex has teamed up with a human cop. Like Zanatos, Demona has understandable flaws and motivations. She's ruthless, cunning, and an awesome villain. In terms of modern American entertainment, diversity is an often discussed topic. Gargoyles excels in this category. There's a lot of great female representation, but for brevity's sake, I'll stick to the best example. Elisa Mazza is a half African, half Native American cop. Elisa is ridden with her own flaws and agency. She holds her own against goons like Tony Dracon, but she's also proactive in helping the gargoyles out. She doesn't mess around and relays important intel for the clan. In the pilot, she reaches out to Goliath and convinces him something's up with Zanatos. They connect with their shared duty to protect and serve their communities. Her compassion persuades Goliath that Manhattan is worth protecting. As their relationship progresses, they channel that Beauty and the Beast energy. I'm assuming some of you haven't seen this show before or haven't seen it in a long time. Well, if this review persuaded you, then let me be your viewing guide. If you have Disney Plus, you can stream it no problem. This show is split into 3 seasons. The first season is 13 episodes and it's pretty grounded. I'd say it's by far the most tightly written of the 3. The second season totals 52 episodes and splinters into 3 distinct arcs. That's a lot of episodes, so I recommend you take your time. The first third drops in new villains and goes wild with exotic concepts. Evil clones, genetic mutations. The second third, the Avalon arc, has the crew travel around the world. They visit various countries and meet new gargoyles. This arc not only respects the cultures it features, but it also greatly expands the show's lore. In the final third, the crew returns to New York and we get a really good season finale. Season 2 might be a little intimidating because of the sheer volume of episodes, but it has some of my favorite moments. For the third and final season, the gargoyles are revealed to the public and a hate group rises against them. This season is just okay, but a lot of the strong writing is stripped away. It's a lot more on the nose as Goliath tells you the lesson at the start of every episode. The characters are written inconsistently and it loses that Shakespearean charm from the previous seasons. The series went through a creative shakeup and replaced most of the writing staff. Greg Weisman, the creator, dislikes this season and considers it non-canon. So yeah, you can honestly skip this one. Okay, highlight time. Firstly, most memorable villains. Zanatos and Demona are some of the most unique villains in television. I haven't seen anyone like them since. Secondly, Gothic Supreme. This show is brewing with atmosphere. There's a reason it's the Halloween video. Lastly, ahead of its time. Gargoyles did a lot of great things we take for granted in modern long-form animation.
You were right.
You know, things like intricate stories, subtle character growth, and lore as dense as a Tolkien book. In conclusion, Gargoyles offers great writing, stellar action, and satisfying character development. The third season wasn't exactly a home run, but everything else is phenomenal. I give this 4.5 stars out of 5. I'll catch you guys next time. Have a happy Halloween.